right, this is Module 2, Lesson 18. We are going to be using our properties to multiply and divide rational numbers. For the first question, it says to evaluate it using two different methods. So first, we're going to do this by just using the order of operations. So I'm going to copy the problem over on the side so we can have room for both ways that we're going to do this. All right, so order of operations, just say multiply from left to right. So -6 times 2 is -12. I'm going to just copy down everything else because I'm only going to do 2 at a time. -12, -2 is 24. 24 times 5, I'm going to go over to the side of the page. 24 times 5 gives us 120. Opposite signs, negative answer. And 120 times 3 gives us 360. Same signs, positive answer. So that's one way we could do it. Now, we could use our properties to actually make this a little bit easier on ourselves. Now, remember, the commutative property simply says that we can change the order of the numbers, and it will not affect our answer. And the associative property says that we can group them in any way that we would like that would help us to answer this. So I'm going to copy the problem down again. All right, so right away, I can see that if I multiply these two numbers together, it's going to give me 10. And 10 is a very easy number to multiply by, so that would be a great group to do first. I'm just going to change the order and bring that -3 over first. And then do that grouping. So we have, this one would be 10. Now, these three numbers, okay, I can just rewrite them for now so that I'm multiplying those three numbers times 10. All right, so as I look at this again, I'm looking, okay, if I go 6 times 2, you're talking about a 2-digit number, and sometimes that gets kind of tricky when you're multiplying. So if I do these two first, I remain in the single digits. So 2 times -3 gives us -6. Now I'm going to group these two together. -6 times -6 is 36. And 36 times 10 is 360. So now I'm not going over to the side of my paper and doing the math because all the math problems are so easy and just mental math. Now, it says, what is the sign of the product? And notice that our sign is positive. Now, obviously, we determined our sign because every two numbers we were multiplying together gives us the sign of that new answer. But if you actually look up here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 negatives and a, 4 negatives and a positive. Well, think about this. Negative times negative, positive. Negative times negative, positive. And that's positive already. So when you have an even number of negatives, it ends up being a positive answer. All right, I'm going to have you try the next one on your own. I want you to group together the numbers just like we did in the second method so that it's easy multiplication and it's all mental multiplication. Go ahead and hit pause. When you're done, hit play so that you can make sure that your answers are correct. All right, so I'm going to keep -1 the same, and I'm going to move the 10 over because those two numbers are very easy to multiply by. So I'm going to just group the last three numbers together. So I'm going to do these two first. Negative times negative is positive, and that's +6. So 6 times 2 is 12. So 10 times 12 is 120. When you multiply that by -1, you get -120. Now, if you count up the negatives, look at, we have 3 negatives, which is odd, and look at our answer is negative as well. All right, so let's take a look at exercise 2. Now I'm going to add some fractions in there. And I want to show you how to group these together to make it real easy to do. Now we could go using order of operations, the first two, the second, that with the second number, the third number, and so on. Or we can group these fractions with one of the whole numbers where we can cancel them out. So if you look at the denominator, it's 3. 3 goes into 9. So I'm going to group 1/3 times 9 together. And then 2 goes into 8. So I'm going to group -1/2 with -8. Now you still have that 4 that you have to stay with. So now look at it. If I put 9 over 1, I can cross cancel. So 1 times 3 is 3 over 1, and 3 over 1 is just 3. You can do the same thing here. Put -8 over 1, 2, 4. So that becomes -4. Oh, I'm sorry, same signs, positive answer. That's going to be a +4. All right, and just multiply. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 times 4 is 48. There are 2 negative signs, so that makes sense that our answer is positive. So with this one, we're going to group the fractions with the whole numbers. That the denominators go into evenly. Notice I wouldn't group 1/3 with 8 because 3 doesn't go into 8. Now it says, what terms did you combine first and why? Well, actually, we could have just written this right here. We grouped the fractions with the whole numbers that the denominators go into evenly. All right. Now it says, refer to the example and exercises. Do you see an easy way to determine the sign of the product first? Well, that's what we've been talking about. I kind of did that as I went through every problem. When there are an odd number of negatives, your answer is going to be negative. When there's an even number of negatives, then your answer is going to be positive. Actually, let me let you see that. Sorry, I flipped that kind of fast. All right, next page. This time I'm going to throw in some division problems, okay? Now think about what we learned in the previous lesson about division. Whenever you're dividing, you're going to change it to multiplying the reciprocal. So let's go through, whenever you see a division problem, let's change it to multiplying by the flip. So multiply by, instead of 2/3, it's 3/2. Now this is already multiplying, so we don't need to change that. We don't need to change that. Let's change it to multiplying by -2 rather than 2 over 1. So now I have all multiplication. So now I can change the order around to anything I want. All right, so I have a fraction. I'm going to group that with one of the numbers that it goes in evenly with. You could do 8 or 2. It really doesn't matter. So 1 times, let's group 3/2 times -8 over 1 together. And then we still have times 3 and times -2. So 2 cancels out with the 8. 3 times 4 is 12. Opposite signs, negative answer. Okay, 1 is easy to multiply by. 12 times 3 starts to get pretty big, so let's group these first. 3 times -2 is -6. Now 12 times 6, you want to go over to the side. 12 times 6, 12, 72. Same signs, positive answer. So we get an answer of 72. Now go back and look. There's 2 negatives. That's an even number, which means our answer is positive. All right, I'm going to have you try exercise 6. Pause the video, and when you're done, go ahead and check the answers. All right, so we're going to change all of the division to multiplication of the reciprocal. So go ahead and change all those. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is group these two together because 3 and 6 are common. I have a common factor. So I'm going to put 6 over 1. 3 and 6 cross cancel. So I have 4.2 times, this would be -2. All right, 2 times 4.2 is 8.4, opposite signs, negative answer. And now just move the decimal place over once because you're multiplying by 10, opposite signs, positive answer. All right, go ahead and try the problem set, and we will go over that in class tomorrow. Have a good day.